Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Okay, good, because today we're going kind of deep, maybe even a little, I don't know, intimidating. Spiritual tests.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so we found this article online. It's called, get this, Seven Hardest Spiritual Tests, Only Chosen Ones Endure, God's Huge Gift.
Wow. That's quite a title.
Right, a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
But okay, let's put the dramatic language aside for a sec, because the article actually talks about stuff we've all probably thought about, like how we grow through tough
Mm.
times. It's saying those tough times, they aren't just random bad luck, but like purposeful tests, you know,
Yeah.
on the path to like spiritual awakening.
Right, right. I mean, so many people wonder about that, right? It's that
Yeah,
old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but on a whole other level.
exactly. And this article, it just dives right in. First test, LOSS.
Okay.
And we aren't talking about losing your keys here.
Mhm.
This is like losing anything that's super tied to who you think you are. Relationships, jobs, even your sense of self.
That's deep. It makes you think about, like, letting go of all the things you think define you. Possessions, status, even certain relationships. Like, what if those things are actually holding you back from who you're really supposed to be?
Ooh, that's good. Like it's not about being punished, but about being set free
Yeah.
from all that external stuff so you can finally see like the real you underneath.
Yeah, exactly. It's like shedding a skin, you know? And if loss makes you face who you are without all that baggage, then the next test, isolation, takes it even further.
Isolation, okay.
Have you ever felt alone, even when you're with people, or maybe you were physically separated from people you love?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That feeling, it can push you, force you to ask, who am I when I don't have to impress anyone? Like there's no audience.
It's like being totally exposed, right? No distractions, just you.
Right. And the article says in those moments, that's when you can connect to something bigger, maybe inner peace, maybe nature, maybe even something divine.
Now this next test I think we can all relate to, fear.
Fear. Yeah.
Not just like everyday worries, but that deep fear that paralyzes you, keeps you stuck.
Oh, I know that feeling. Keeps you playing small.
Exactly. And the article does this cool thing. It says, fear isn't the enemy, it's a compass,
A compass.
pointing you towards what you need to face to grow.
So instead of running away from the things that scare us, maybe we should be running towards them.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. Think about a time you faced a fear. Did it make you stronger?
I think about that a lot, actually.
Okay, now ready for the heavy hitter. Suffering.
Okay.
This is everything. Physical pain, heartbreak, those existential crises where you're just like, what is the point?
The big questions.
Yeah, this is where the article gets super real. It's saying suffering, it's just part of life.
Mhm.
But instead of hiding from it, it says our darkest times can bring the brightest light.
I like that. It's like suffering strips you down, forces you to face the truth.
Yeah, and it even asks this question, does going through tough stuff make us kinder, more compassionate?
It's a fascinating question. And honestly, suffering can be a double-edged sword, right? Sometimes it does lead to growth and empathy, but sometimes it can make people bitter too. I think it all comes down to how you deal with those tough emotions.
You're so right. It's not a guarantee. It's about what you choose to do with that experience, how you let it shape you.
Exactly. Which leads us to the next test, maybe even harder than facing suffering itself, doubt.
Doubt, oh.
This one, it challenges everything. Your beliefs, your spiritual path, even if there's something guiding you at all. Has doubt ever, like, crept into your own journey?
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
It happens to everyone. And the article makes this point. Doubt isn't the opposite of faith. It's the ground where faith grows stronger.
It's like that saying, of faith that hasn't been tested, it can't be trusted.
Exactly. It uses this metaphor. Doubt is like a fire. It burns away all the false stuff, so what's left is the real deal. That stronger, hard-won faith.
So don't be afraid of doubt. See it as a chance to go deeper, understand yourself and the world better. But, you ready for this? Next up, we enter the void.
The void.
This is the most abstract, maybe even scary part of the article. They say it's where everything you know disappears. Your beliefs, who you are, even your sense of self.
It's like almost like a death, a symbolic death. Thinkers have been talking about this for ages, right? Like Sartre, Camus, all those existentialists.
Yeah.
Trying to find meaning when everything feels meaningless.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The article says the void, as terrifying as it sounds, it's not the end. It's a new beginning.
A reset.
Like a cosmic reset button. You got to empty out to make space for something new.
So we've done loss, Isolation, fear, suffering, doubt, even stared into the void. What's next?
Well, according to the article, after the void comes rebirth, seeing the world with fresh eyes, living with more wisdom and compassion.
Okay, rebirth. Makes sense. But even after all that, there's one final test.
Acceptance.
Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's about embracing everything exactly, ASITIS. No fighting it, no judging it. How do you just move through the world accepting the good and the bad, the light and the dark?
That's tough. The article says the key is unconditional love. Accepting yourself and everyone else, flaws and all.
That's a pretty tall order, isn't it? It's
Eh.
a lifelong practice. But I think it's worth thinking about, how do you cultivate that radical acceptance in a world that's so often chaotic and unpredictable? And how do we move from these individual tests to a bigger, more shared understanding of these challenges?
Those are great questions. Perfect way to head into the next part of our deep dive. You know, it's funny, the article keeps calling these challenges tests from God, but what if we, set that aside for a minute?
Oh, I like where you're going with this. What if we see them not as like divine tests, but just part of being human?
Yeah. Opens up a whole new way to look at things. We could use psychology, philosophy, all that, like existentialism, right? They're all about finding meaning in a world that doesn't always make sense.
Right, and psychology can teach us how people deal with trauma, loss, hard times. It's not pretending it's easy, but seeing how those things change us.
Exactly. It's less about passing some test and more about how we choose to deal with these human experiences. Do we let them crush us or do we use them to, level up?
This reminds me of, have you heard of post-traumatic growth? People who go through really tough stuff, sometimes they actually come out the other side better, stronger.
It's amazing how resilient people can be. But, okay, back to spiritual awakening. If we ditch this whole test thing, what does that mean for awakening?
Yeah, good question. Is it still about reaching some ultimate enlightenment
Or
or
maybe it's not a destination, but the journey itself,
Yeah.
you know? Always learning, growing, understanding ourselves and the world better.
that feels so much more empowering, right? You're not just waiting to pass some tests. You're actively choosing how you respond to life's curveballs.
100%. We always have a choice. We can either see challenges as opportunities or we can let them win.
This makes me think about that whole free will versus destiny debate. If these challenges are just part of being human, does that mean our paths are set in stone?
Whoa, now that is a deep philosophical question. People have been debating that for centuries. Even if there's some element of fate, I still think we have choices in how we navigate it all.
So it's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
accepting what IS, but also taking responsibility for what W do, how we react. It's like a dance between surrendering and making your own moves.
I love that. Surrender and agency. Okay, I want to circle back to something the article kept saying. That suffering makes you more compassionate. You buy that.
That's tough. I can see how going through hard stuff together could build empathy, but I can also see how pain might make someone shut down, become resentful.
Right. It's not so simple. Depends on the person, their support system, what kind of suffering it is,
That's why it's so important to take care of yourself. A&D, seek support during tough times. You don't have to go through it alone.
Couldn't agree more. Friends, family, therapists, spiritual groups, whatever works. And remember, healing takes time. There's no quick fix for trauma and grief.
So true. But we've been talking a lot about the individual. What about these themes on a global level?
Oh, that's interesting. If these challenges are universal, then it makes sense we face them as a whole planet too, right?
So war, famine, climate change, those are all forms of collective suffering, forcing us to face some hard truths about ourselves and the world.
Exactly. And just like with personal suffering, we have a choice in how we react. We can either freak out, turn on each other, become more divided, or we can band together, support each other, and try to build a better world.
It's like finding common ground, even when we disagree, the power of collective action.
It all boils down to remembering we're all human. We're in this together.
So maybe these spiritual tests, whether we face them alone or as a whole world, they're all pushing us towards a deeper understanding of who we are and where we fit in.
I love that. We start to see how connected we all are, part of something much bigger.
Wow, we have covered so much, Hades. Personal growth, global challenges, even some pretty deep philosophy.
It's been quite the deep dive, and honestly, we've just scratched the surface.
Okay, so before we wrap up this part, got to go back to that whole God's gift thing from the article.
Right, right. That's going to resonate with some people and maybe not others.
It's a sensitive topic for sure.
And that's okay. Everyone's spiritual journey is different. There's no right or wrong way to experience it. What matters is that we're thinking about these ideas in a genuine way.
So for people who do believe in a higher power or some kind of divine force, how might they see these tests as gifts?
Hmm. Maybe it's about knowing that even in the midst of pain, there's something loving there, supporting them. Even when it's dark and uncertain, there's a bigger plan unfolding, even if we can't see it yet.
It's about faith, right? Trusting that there's a purpose, even when it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and that even the worst experiences can have meaning. It makes me think about surrender, letting go of control and trusting in something bigger.
That surrender, it can be so freeing. When you stop fighting against life and just let it carry you, who knows where you might end up?
It really is. But before we move on, one last thought about surrender and purpose.
Okay, lay it on me. What's this thought about surrender and purpose?
Well, we've been talking about these tests, these spiritual tests, as like all about you, your own growth, your awakening.
Yeah, that's how the article framed it.
But what if these tests are actually getting us ready for something bigger? Not just like personal enlightenment, but some kind of bigger purpose, a role we're supposed to play in the world, you know?
Whoa. So it's not just about me, me, me.
Mhm.
It's about how my little challenges connect to something bigger, like how I contribute to society.
Exactly. Like imagine the resilience you built from, I don't know, going through a divorce. Maybe that makes you a better, more understanding leader at work,
Yeah.
right? Or the isolation that forced you to look inward. Maybe that helps you create art that makes other people feel less alone.
I'm starting to get it. It's like these tests, these hard things, they're refining us, making us into the people we need to be to make a difference, I guess.
And that difference, it doesn't have to be saving the whole world, you know? It could be being a more present parent, a better friend, a more active member of your community, whatever feels right.
So taking those tough lessons and using them to do some good, however that looks for you.
It's not about what we get from the tests, it's what we give back because of them.
This is making my brain work overtime. But how do we know what our purpose is? Are there, like, signs we should be looking for?
I wish there was a simple answer. Everyone's got to figure that out for themselves. But I think maybe start by paying attention to what makes you excited, what lights you up, what feels, I don't know, important.
And maybe look at the stuff that keeps coming up in your life, those same challenges over and over. Maybe those are like hints about where you need to grow, where you can make the biggest impact.
Our toughest challenges, they can be our best teachers, showing us where we need to do the work, where we need to heal, where we can become, you know, the best versions of ourselves.
We started with an article about spiritual tests, and now we're talking about the meaning of life and our place in the universe. This deep dive has taken us everywhere.
It's been quite a journey, but there's always more to explore.
So as we wrap this up, what's the one thing you hope our listeners are taking away from all this?
I hope they walk away with a sense of curiosity, a sense of possibility, and the next time a challenge pops up, they'll ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And how might this be getting me ready for something even bigger?
Love that. It's all about perspective, seeing those roadblocks as stepping stones.
You got it. It's about saying yes to the journey, all the ups and downs, and trusting that even when it's hard, there's a reason, a purpose unfolding inside us and around us.
And maybe, just maybe, when we each face our own tests, we're actually contributing to a bigger awakening, a kinder, more connected world.
Beautiful way to put it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep growing.
And keep diving deep. See you on the next episode of The Deep Dive.